The old church stood proudly at the heart of the historic neighborhood, its towering steeple a beacon for the weary and the hopeful alike. Within its walls, Pastor Antonio Tony Rivera worked tirelessly, organizing community outreach programs, offering food to the hungry, and providing solace to those in need. The church had become a sanctuary for immigrants and minorities seeking safety from an increasingly hostile world. On a humid afternoon, a gathering took place in the church's courtyard. Families, elders, and young volunteers worked side by side, distributing meals and supplies to the community. The air buzzed with laughter, conversation, and the warmth of shared purpose. That peace was shattered when Officer William Bill Carter arrived, his squad car rolling to a halt just outside the wrought iron gate. Carter, known for his aggressive tactics and history of prejudice, surveyed the scene with thinly veiled contempt. To him, such gatherings were a breeding ground for disorder, a disruption to the order he believed he was sworn to maintain. As he stepped from his vehicle, a hush fell over the congregation. Pastor Rivera approached with his characteristic calm, extending a hand in greeting. "Good afternoon, officer. How can we help you today?" Carter ignored the gesture, his eyes scanning the crowd. Before we continue this story, let us know where you're watching from. If you enjoy stories like this, subscribe to the channel, because tomorrow we have another special story for you. What's going on here? Some kind of unauthorized assembly? This is a community outreach event, Rivera responded evenly. We're feeding the hungry, providing resources for those in need. Carter scoffed. That's so? Seems more like a political stunt to me. Sister Maria Lopez, standing nearby, instinctively reached for her phone, recording the interaction. The tension was palpable. Congregants shifted uncomfortably, sensing Carter's hostility. This is a church function, Rivera explained patiently. We have every right to be here. Carter stepped closer, invading Rivera's space. You people think you're above the law, hiding behind faith, pushing your agenda. Maybe you should think twice before making a spectacle of yourselves. Rivera held his ground. We're doing God's work, officer. There's no agenda, only service. Something in Carter snapped. With a sudden, forceful shove, he sent Rivera sprawling backward onto the church steps. Gasps of shock erupted from the crowd. The pastor's glasses skittered across the stone, his palms scraped raw from the fall. You don't belong here, Carter hissed. This isn't your country to dictate. Silence gripped the scene for a moment before it was shattered by Sister Maria's voice. I got it all on video. Phones were raised high, recording from every angle. The moment of violence, the hateful words, all preserved in digital permanence. A murmur swelled into a roar as the congregation found its voice. Reverend James Mitchell arrived then, his presence commanding. He stepped between Carter and the outraged crowd. This aggression will not stand, he declared. Pastor Rivera is a pillar of this community, and your actions disgrace the very duty you claim to uphold. Carter's face paled as the reality of the situation dawned on him. The video was already being uploaded, spreading across social media with lightning speed. Comments poured in, demanding justice, condemning the blatant racism and abuse of power. Within hours, news outlets picked up the story. Protests formed outside the police precinct, calling for accountability. Community leaders and activists from all backgrounds joined forces, transforming outrage into action. The police department, under mounting pressure, announced Carter's suspension pending an internal investigation. The promise of disciplinary action was not enough to quell the demand for deeper change. At the church, the attack had become a rallying cry. Interfaith gatherings drew larger crowds, fostering dialogue between religious leaders and civil rights advocates. Pastor Rivera, though bruised and shaken, stood firm in his mission. His congregation, emboldened by the overwhelming support, refused to be silenced. As a result of the incident, new initiatives emerged. Law enforcement officers underwent mandatory cultural sensitivity training. A community liaison was appointed to bridge the gap between the police and the neighborhoods they served. Policies were re-examined, and discussions on systemic reform gained momentum. The church, once just a sanctuary of faith, had become a symbol of resistance and justice. In the face of violence, the community had chosen unity. In the wake of hatred, they had found strength. Pastor Rivera, alongside his allies, knew the road ahead was long, but they had proven that even in the darkest moments, faith and solidarity could light the way.